Outlaw Law is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law. Your law firm for life.
Welcome back into the Outlaw Lawyers. Your hosts are Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, the managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. Offices located Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, Gastonia, and now in Morehead City. They're practicing attorneys here in the great state of North Carolina. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We get into legalese. We talk the topics. You've got questions about maybe a situation you're going through and you need some answers. You can always call Whitaker and Hamer. The number, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what that call is about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. You can also email your questions to the show, and that's questions@theoutlawlawyer.com, questions@theoutlawlawyer.com. And we're back, and again, real estate questions, listener questions, and I'm excited about this. We're going to go trust first, right, Josh?
Yeah, I think we're gonna start. We're gonna start there. We're down here where we mix up where we're recording from. Sometimes we're with Morgan and we're over in the studio in Apex. Sometimes we're in Garner, our Garner office. Sometimes we're in our Clayton office. Today we're at Shady's on Main Street in Garner. So we're would you say it's on location, or that would be on location? Yeah,
you're on location. We have to move you around because of the fandom. They follow you around.
It's crazy, man.
It's like the Beatles. I mean, all these legal fans. I mean, they're screaming for, it's a tough gig, but you guys have handled it very, very well.
It's really hard to handle the level of fame we've achieved. It's a burden that we carry, and I get real tired.
You do it for the peeps, though. You do it for the listeners.
We do it. Yeah, we do it. We do it for them.
So when I was growing up, I did not grow up in a family that had a trust.
I thought that was going to be the end. Were you in the jungle? Like, I don't understand.
No, I did not grow up in the kind of family where we had things in a trust, or we had a family trust, or there was a trust fund. That was, I only heard about that on TV. And so growing up, I had a very far-fetched concept of what a trust is. Of course, didn't know what it would be used for. But it can be used for, now as an attorney with experience, trust can be used for a lot of different things.
That is correct, Josh. Also didn't know what a trust was. And I'll tell you, I didn't even watch shows that referred to trust. That's how much more privilege you had than me, brother. Not that it's a competition.
Right.
And like we talked about earlier, a lot of times we'll get a question to which the answer is like, yeah, you need to trust. And folks won't even realize that that's the way they need to go. And so without really diving too deep into the question, I guess we can give it in generalities, because we get a version of this question a lot of the times. But it's essentially, you'll have someone who's looking to do an estate plan, and they'll have whatever size estate that they've got, and they'll have a kid, right? And then let's give them 4 kids. 3 of those kids are fantastic. They love them to death. They're really good kids. They do what they're supposed to do. They clean their rooms, whatever, what have you. And then they got the one kid. And the one kid is the one that they don't trust to take care of themselves. They don't want to leave them a bunch of money because they don't, maybe they've got a drug problem. Maybe they've got some kind of mental health issues. Maybe they're just not capable of handling their own affairs. And even outside of those situations, you could just have a minor beneficiary. And the answer to how do you deal with that situation is going to be, well, you need a trust.
Yeah. And you can have, I see situations too, where they don't trust a son or daughter's spouse, right? So they don't trust a son or daughter's spouse, or maybe you have a child with special needs and money and assets need to be handled in a way that doesn't interrupt with any other benefits that child may have coming to them. And so there's all kinds of reasons why a trust comes into play, but a trust is so easy to create. You just create it. You say, hey, I want a trust. You have an attorney or someone who knows what they're doing, write it up for you so we know what it is. And then bam, the trust is in existence.
That's it. That's our episode, folks. Thanks for coming and listening.
And then you fund it, and then you operate the trust according to the instructions in the trust creation document, right? So in the piece of paper that creates a trust, and then you abide by that. And the trust, they can get as complicated or uncomplicated as you want, But then it's kind of, I think about trust as like a living, breathing person. Like you've created this entity. It's kind of like creating an LLC or creating a corporation. You create this entity that's got written directions on how it's supposed to operate. There's a trustee. That's the person that operates the trust, carries out the wishes of the trust, and the trust just goes.
Yeah, man, good. I like that living, breathing analogy, but with the caveat that you've got this thing, but you've almost got like an operator, right? So almost think of it like, you remember Power Rangers? You watched a ton of Power Rangers, and they had those machines, and the Power Rangers would get inside and control it. That's a good one, right?
It's a good one. I was a little younger than you. I had Voltron.
Okay, same concept.
Yeah.
Was Voltron had people in it?
Yeah,
running it.
Yeah,
anyways, whatever analogy you use, like you said, it is its own entity, but then you've got the trustee that's kind of driving the train. And with that said, you talked about how a trust can be complex, it can be simple, it can be ridiculously convoluted. It really depends. So you'll have some folks who want to give just unfettered discretion to the trustee. Tell the trustee, hey, you've got this trust to manage, do with the principal as you please. We've got beneficiaries, and they get a lot of discretion. And then you'll have some trusts that want to be way more restrictive, right? And so in the scenario of someone who's having a tough time, struggling with addiction, struggling taking care of themselves, maybe they have special needs, the trust can give parameters like, this is when you can make a distribution. These are the things you need to take into consideration. And then you can either give as much as you want, or you can give specific amounts. Again, that's the beauty of it. You get control, and you can customize it to your liking. So we can get real crazy with them, real complex, or we can keep it real simple.
And there's other reasons too. There can be tax savings with trust. When I'm doing estate planning consults or estate planning work, I always tell people, hey, well, trusts don't die. Josh Whitaker, I will die one day.
Maybe.
Trusts don't die. Now they can dissolve. You can have instructions for them to dissolve at certain times, certain events, when a kid gets married, or when a kid gets their 4-year degree from college, or when a kid turns 40. There's all kinds of mechanisms. It's really up to you as the grantor, the settler of the trust, the trustor, I suppose.
I like that word, man. You really think you're going to die? You look great. I don't know that you do, man. They got a lot of advancements. I think they'll come up with some kind of weird stem cell thing. You'll start drinking like a Capri Sun with stem cells in it, and you'll be good for another 300-400 years. I'm
holding out for what are the nano robots that repair.
Yeah. You could be here forever, man. No one knows.
Somebody was telling me everybody born in 2023 will live 1 month longer than if you were born in 2022.
What?
So every year later you're born, you're going to live 1 month more than the people born the year before you.
Was that like a life expectancy thing, or is that like so? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, good for them, man.
That's science. Somebody told me that.
Okay, a scientist.
Yeah, one of the scientists
deep,
I run into.
Do some citations at the end of this episode to cite some of these studies.
And trust can own anything that you can own. Trust can own real property, right? They can take a deed. They can get deed property into a trust. They can be beneficiaries on your life insurance, your 401ks, your pensions. They can stand in your place and do anything you can do yourself.
That's very true, man. Another cool thing about trust is if you structure your trust the right way, you can get protection from creditors as well.
That's right.
Which is cool.
Spendthrift provisions you can protect. And again, that goes back to protecting maybe the child or the relative that you don't necessarily trust with money. It's got a bad history with money, maybe has some liens, judgments, taxes they owe, a spouse that's that way. I've had a lot of folks sit in my office and say, I love this kid, but I do not love their spouse.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't want their spouse to get anything,
I want them to suffer.
And, a trust, again, and a marital interest in North Carolina, that's a topic for a whole nother day. Once you get married, a spouse has a marital interest in a lot of things acquired during the marriage. But there's things you can do, and nothing's foolproof, but there's things you can do to limit, what the bad spouse in this situation can or can't touch.
So if you're super vindictive and you hate your kid's spouse, give us a call and we can help you really stick it to them, really make sure they don't realize any benefit from your estate. So,
but it's all planning. I'm helping somebody right now start to get everything into a trust. If it's not already in an LLC, if it's not already in a corporation, and those can go, those interests can go into trust too. your membership interest in an LLC, stocks you hold, there's really no limit. It's just a matter. It's just is it a good idea? And that's kind of why you consult with an attorney. Sometimes we bring in your CPA or your tax folks and make sure they're okay with it. But the whole point is, avoid probate, accomplish these other goals that we've talked about. There's a lot of advantages to them, and they're just not for the super duper. It's not just for your yacht. You don't create trust just for your yachts, your fancy boats to be in. Yeah,
for sure, man. You said it. Avoid probate, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. We don't want to have to go down to the courthouse any more than we have to go down to the courthouse. So let's avoid that probate, and hopefully you guys all have yachts. I like to imagine our listeners as
they're all listening on their yachts.
Yeah, they're all listening on their yachts for sure, man.
All right. Well, up next, that's kind of what I want to talk to. That was the trust question. Like basically, what can a trust be used for? I think we answered that. And up next, I think we're going to spend some time talking about money. We're going to start talking about proceeds from the sale of real property. I think that's what we're going to talk about next, Morgan.
All right. Proceeds from the sale of real property. That will be the next topic, the next listener question coming up on the Outlaw Lawyers. Your hosts, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm right here. Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay, Varina, Gastonia, and Morehead City. They have offices. And again, they are practicing attorneys here in the great state of North Carolina. We'll take a short break. We're back right after this.